Story is an often misunderstood aspect of fighting games, treated poorly by the community who play it and an afterthought to the people who make it. While most fighting game stories are globe-trotting anime adventures or poorly thought out attractions for casuals, fighting game lore is a fascinating thing to some and an embarrassment to others. I happen to fall into both categories, so join me as I regale you with some of the many stories told to us from fighting games. The King of Fighters is an interesting series, collecting some of SNK's best and most popular franchises and putting them all into a 3-on-3 tournament-based fighter. While it never reached the worldwide popularity of other games in the genre, The King of Fighters is still a celebrated aspect of fighting game history, being especially popular in Japan and numerous South American countries like Mexico. One thing that fans have always praised The King of Fighters for is its stories. Infamous sagas spreading across multiple years and games, some of the best narratives in the entire fighting game genre belong to SNK, and KOF in particular. Having already covered the events of the Orochi saga, it's time we moved on to the second saga in the King of Fighters series, known as the NESTS Chronicles arc. With the King of Fighters 15 finally revealed, I think it's as good a time as any to go through the entire King of Fighters storyline saga by saga as a means of refreshing old players and informing new ones on the crazy world of KOF. Now, you might be wondering why 2002 is in the title there. I've pointed out in previous videos covering the KOF series that I wouldn't talk about Dream Match games due to their status as being non-canon to the overall narrative of the series. While that's still true and you won't hear me talk about KOF 98 or 12 in the What Happened In series, 2002 is a unique case due to the certain addition, or rather replacement, to that game's roster. And just in case you didn't know, I won't be talking about this 2002, I'll be talking about this 2002, but we'll cover that when we get there. If you're new to the channel, I recommend watching the previous video I did on the events of the Orochi saga, as this video will be made on the assumption that you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, feel free to click the link at the top of the video and check it out before coming back. It's been 1 year since the events of the King of Fighters 2000 tournament that saw the rogue NESTS criminal cartel agent Zero betray his employees and use their powerful Zero cannon to destroy Southtown. Despite an attempt to cover up NESTS' involvement by claiming Southtown was destroyed by an artificial satellite crashing to Earth, people around the world call for the end of the annual KOF tournament due to the nature of it often leading to some sort of catastrophic event. However, the nature of Southtown's destruction as well as previous calamities caused during the tournament has resulted in KOF being as popular as ever, with anticipation for the next tournament rivaling that of 97's, which received a high volume of interest thanks to the heavily publicised destruction of the arena by the Hakushu's Go-Nuts in 96. As if to answer the call of the public, a new King of Fighters tournament is announced, with NESTS themselves heavily rumoured to be this year's host. The news of the tournament brings together fighters across the world, with many personally motivated by NESTS' involvement. After joining up with his long-lost sister Whip, Cade and his longtime friend Maxima head out together in order to destroy NESTS for the experiments and crimes done to them. The three spend the year between the 2000 and 2001 tournament hunting down NESTS bases across the world and destroying them. While on their hunt, the three are soon joined by Lin, who has broken off from Benamari's team to continue his search for his former friend and Shizuku clan traitor Ron, who has aligned himself with NESTS in order to gain more power. Forming the latest version of the K-Dash team, K-Dash, Maxima, Whip and Lin team up to take down NESTS once and for all. 9 of the teams enter the King of Fighters 2001 tournament, which once again features teams of 4 and uses the striker system. Most teams keep their previous team formations, though there are also some shake-ups. After faking his death in order to investigate why NESTS cloned him after the 97 tournament, Kyo Kusanagi returns to the public eye to join up with his old comrades to reform the Japan team. Benamara Nakado teams up with his old friend once again, while Goro Daimon, now a father, comes out of retirement after hearing of Kyo's survival. Needing a 4th member in order to qualify, the three call up Kyo's protege Shingo Ibuki, who is ecstatic to team up with his idol. After his reunion with his old rival Kyo in the previous tournament, Iori Yagami is approached by the agent Seth, who invites Iori to join his team, using Iori's desire to face Kyo again as a bait to make him accept. Wanting a rematch with Kyo, Iori agrees and reforms the Yagami team, where he's joined by Seth, Vanessa and Ramon, who are now all free agents after Zero manipulated them the previous year. The Fatal Fury team remains unchanged from the previous year, with Terry Bogard reuniting with his brother Andy Bogard and friend Joe Higashi after faking his death during Southtown's destruction last year. The three are once again joined by Blue Mary, who is still working to investigate NESTS. The Art of Fighting team returns to its formation from the 99 tournament, being made up by Ryo Sakazaki, Robert Garcia, Yuri Sakazaki and Takuma Sakazaki. The Ikari Warriors once again consist of Leona Hyder, Ralph Jones and Clark Still, but Whip's absence after the 2000 tournament has forced their commander Hyder to step in and join them. The Psycho Soldier team remain unchanged, with Athena Asamiya, C. Kensu, Shin Gensai and Bao joined together to help uncover the truth behind the mysterious power Kensu and Bao seem to share. The Women Fighters team is led by King, who is joined by old friend Mai Shiranui, as well as Hinaku Shiju and Li Xiangfei, who returned from the 2000 and 99 tournaments respectively. The Korea Justice team is once again led by Kim Kap-won and his criminal apprentices Chang Go-han and Choi Boon, who are now joined by Kim's apprentice Mei Lee Jinju, who replaces Jun Hoon, who sits out this tournament after breaking his arm in an accident. To the surprise of most competitors, NESTS themselves enter their own team into the 2001 tournament. NESTS experiment Cooler Diamond and her handler Foxy are accompanied by NESTS agents K49 and Angel, with K49 being the 9,999th clone of Kyo Kusanagi. Though Cooler and Foxy assume their goal in the tournament is to once again find and eliminate any NEST traitors, K49's purpose is to hunt down and exterminate failed NEST creations, while Angel is to keep an eye on K49 himself. Now let's break away from the KOF 2001 tournament and quickly look at another experiment at NESTS, which can only be found in the King of Fighters 2002 Unlimited match. I'm of course talking about Nameless. Okay, so normally I would just ignore this character simply down the fact that he's someone who was A, designed to purely replace K49 and B, has only appeared in a non-canon Dream Match game. But the fact that SNK could randomly decide to bring Nameless back is something that leaves me with no real choice but to include him here. I'd hate to not mention him at all, only for him to suddenly return and this retrospective series be left incomplete. So who was Nameless? Nameless is the 9,999th clone of K-Dash and the only survivor of Project whatever the hell this thing means. Living a lonely and painful life of being experimented on by NESTS, Nameless would watch his fellow K-Dash clones be killed again and again due to the numerous tests done by their creators. Whenever Nameless would be injured after a particularly tough set of experiments, he would see a girl named Isolde in the NESTS infirmary, and though he could never say anything, he soon fell in love with her. The thought of being with her would be the only thing that kept him alive through his merciless training and experiments. Eventually the two would meet and ended up growing a deep bond together. Hoping to one day escape NESTS and live their lives peacefully together, Nameless and Isolde manage to find happiness within NESTS until Isolde suddenly disappears and Nameless never sees her again. Upon passing NEST's numerous experiments, Nameless was given a custom glove designed to give him the same powers given to users of the Kusanagi Flame. Upon being given the glove, Nameless was set out into the world as an assassin, where he eventually learns the truth about Isolde. Isolde was part of the same anti-K-Dash project that Cooler was born from, but NESTS were unsatisfied with Isolde's power until noticing that both her and Nameless's power grew when they were together. NESTS allowed the two to see each other until Isolde couldn't handle the horrific testing done by NESTS any longer and died. Deciding not to waste the progress they had made, NESTS took Isolde's DNA and crafted it into a glove, the same glove that was given to Nameless. Nameless is unsure whether to believe this story, but realises that he hasn't seen Isolde since he received the glove from NESTS. Not wanting to potentially lose his love, Nameless continues to follow NESTS' orders while hoping to one day return Isolde to her rightful body. Now, Nameless obviously has nothing to do with the events of the King of Fighters 2001, and so far has nothing to really do with the series as a whole. In the event that SNK ever decide to use him again though, his backstory is at least mentioned here. With that said, let's return to the KOF 2001 tournament. Despite NEST's involvement in this year's tournament, the tournament was able to go on without any interruptions. After defeating the last team in their way, K-Dash, Maxima, Whip and Lin are crowned the victors of the KOF 2001 tournament. As the crowd celebrate their victory in the arena, NESTS keep their surveillance of the K-Dash team and note that their victory is part of their plan. After one of the members of NESTS demands that the K-Dash team be brought to him, the four are picked up in a blimp which reveals itself to be a spaceship that begins heading into space. The four are then greeted by a familiar man who claims to be the real Zero, who states that the rogue agent defeated in the previous tournament was in fact his clone. Zero challenges the K-Dash team to a fight, and though it initially appears to be 4-on-1, Zero is joined by 3 strikers, including his pet lion Glaugon, Ron and a revived Chrysalid. The battle is a chaotic one, where the K-Dash team are able to defeat Zero and his strikers. In the aftermath of Zero's loss, Whip kills the resurrected Chrysalid, while Ron vanishes before Lin can make him pay for his crimes. Upon his defeat, the spaceship arrives at a nearby space station as Zero commends the K-Dash team for their victory. Suddenly, the spaceship begins to self-destruct as Zero bids the K-Dash team farewell, saying that his duty is done and that if he had helped him, then all the better. Zero refuses to tell the K-Dash team who him is and tells them to go as the spaceship plummets, sending Zero to his doom. Back on Earth, Foxy and Cooler watch the stars as they remark on how things are just getting started for NESTS. Suddenly, Foxy is attacked from behind by K-49 and Angel, who reveal that they were also ordered to kill Cooler and Foxy, as well as the failed creations like K-Dash, Maxima and Whip. Cooler is incensed by Foxy's apparent death, but is forced to flee before K-49 and Angel can attack her too. Meanwhile, the K-Dash team make their way through the NESTS space station, where Whip theorizes that someone on board will have the secrets to their missing memories. The four eventually encounter the three NESTS members who had been watching their progress through the tournament. There to greet them are Ignis, NESTS CEO and the NESTS children's creator, Misty, NESTS secretary, and NESTS himself, the creator of the criminal cartel as well as its namesake and Ignis' father. Ignis tells his creations that they were created from the start to do their bidding, and that NESTS had actually allowed K-Dash, Maxima and Whip, real name Sarah, to leave NESTS and grow their powers away from the cartel. Ignis also mentions that to become the strongest of their creations, K-Dash and Cooler had their memories wiped so that they could fight without thinking. Ignis finally reveals his intent, saying that K-Dash and Cooler are the mightiest of humans and that he created them in order to eventually steal their power for himself in the hopes of becoming a god. Ignis, wanting them to fight at full strength, then returns K-Dash's memories to him in order to power him even further. Ignis then suddenly places his hand on his father's head, and after declaring that NESTS, the world and humans mean nothing to him, kills him. Calling his creations tools to help build a new world, Ignis challenges the K-Dash team to take him on. The K-Dash team accept Ignis' offer, but the new ruler of NESTS proves to be more powerful than anyone could have possibly imagined, and defeats K-Dash, Maxima, Whip and Lyn. With his goal seemingly complete, Ignis prepares to kill K-Dash and ascend to godhood, but is interrupted by Cooler who, unbeknownst to everyone in the room, has somehow managed to sneak on board the space station. After K-49 and Angel's betrayal, as well as having heard Ignis reveal the truth behind her creation, Cooler turns on her creator and sides with K-Dash against Ignis. Though the apex of NEST's creations stand against him, Ignis is not fazed by Cooler's betrayal until Kyo Kusanagi himself suddenly arrives to join the fight. Having broken off from the Japan team, Kyo snuck on board the space station in order to put down NESTS once and for all. Like a moth to a flame, Kyo's presence on the space station attracts none other than Iori Yagami, who followed Kyo on board so that they can have their rematch. Seeing Ignis as an obstacle in the way of gaining his revenge over Kyo, Iori agrees to fight alongside his rival as well as K-Dash and Cooler in order to defeat Ignis and end his megalomaniac desires. Together, the four are able to overcome Ignis' intense powers and defeat him. Denied his chance at becoming a god by K-Dash, Cooler, Kyo and Iori, a stunned Ignis drags himself over to the space station's controls and overrides it, sending it plummeting towards the Earth. Declaring that if he cannot become a god he'll become a demon, Ignis decides to take out all of NEST's enemies and himself at once by crashing the space station and killing everyone on board. K-Dash, Maxima, Whip, Lyn, Cooler, Kyo and Iori try desperately to stop Ignis from killing them all, but are unable to. However, an unknown power saves those on board and manages to allow the heroes inside to withstand the heat of the burning space station and the impact when it crashes into the ocean. The saviour of those on board is never revealed, though it is highly speculated to be Ron himself, who seemingly turns on NESTS as he lets Ignis perish in the crash but allows the others to live. Having survived the impact, K-Dash sees Cooler drowning in the water and rescues her. While K-Dash is in the water, Whip thinks of their nature as NEST creations, with K-Dash in fact being a real person modified with Kyo's DNA, instead of being a clone of Kyo as originally thought, while Whip herself is actually a clone of the real Sarah, who perished while under NEST's control. Despite being created by someone who simply wished to be a god, Whip states that they were not born to waste away and die like Ignis intended and can instead be real people. After K-Dash rescues Cooler from the water, Lyn remarks that NESTS is finally being destroyed, as Maxima theorizes that someone must have stopped the explosion from happening, saving those on board. K-Dash reluctantly shows his relief at Cooler being okay, as Whip and Diana tend to Cooler. Though Foxy isn't present, she survives K-49 and Angel's attack but is gravely wounded. Foxy and Diana are at first hostile to K-Dash and the others due to their nature of being traitors to the cartel, but K-Dash's act of saving Cooler as well as Ignis' murder of his father and betrayal of the cartel convinces them to side with the K-Dash team. Suddenly the group are interrupted by K-49 who has hijacked the NEST's airship. While K-Dash wants to fight him, K-49 instead pilots the airship over to the wreckage of the spaceship where Angel fights off NEST soldiers, declaring that with Ignis dead, nothing scares her anymore. The two manage to escape from both K-Dash and the remaining NESTS loyalists as they disappear into the unknown together. Meanwhile, the Japan team gather on the cliffs near the wreckage of the space station as Kyo reunites with Benimaru, Daimon and Shingo. Kyo and Benimaru remark on the long battle they managed to overcome, as an excited Shingo suggests throwing a party to celebrate their success. However, Benimaru and Daimon dismiss the idea, with Benimaru saying that while the Japan team comeback was fun, it was only a brief thing. Kyo then absolutely destroys Shingo's self-esteem by telling him to get a life before the three leave. A stunned Shingo calls out to the others to come back, but is soon left alone on the rock. As a lowly Shingo sits down to mope about how his lack of strength makes him a loser, a mysterious person approaches him, claiming to be stronger than Kyo himself. The man, revealed to be Saishu Kusanagi, Kyo's father, offers to train Shingo to be stronger than Kyo, to which Shingo later accepts. On another side of the cliffs, Seth, Vanessa and Ramon catch up with Iori as they discuss NEST's fate after Ignis' death. Seth wonders if Ron died in the crash as well, unaware that it was possibly Ron himself who saved everyone. Seth then approaches Iori and reveals that he's actually listed indispensable, and that the agents intend to list Ori as having been beaten by them. With the already frail alliance no longer necessary, Iori challenges the agents to a fight and manages to defeat all of them. After defeating them, Iori and Kyo manage to meet up away from their former teams where they engage in their long-awaited rematch, where the winner is once again unknown. After the space stations crash into the ocean, several teams gather to investigate it in the hopes of discovering NEST's fate. Having been knocked out of the tournament earlier, the Psycho Soldier team decide to gather at the wreckage. While there, Athena realises that though the mysterious power shed by Kensu and Bao was sucked back into Kensu at the end of the previous tournament, Kensu doesn't seem any different than normal. Chin theorises that a flow of power must have taken place, to which Kensu mentions that while it's gradual, he can feel the new power inside him. Bao then chimes in and reveals that he didn't transfer his power to Kensu in the previous tournament, but rather Kensu absorbed his power, and names the power within Kensu right now as the Dragon Spirit. As the Psycho Soldiers discuss the power, Ron and Misty watch over them as Ron reveals that NEST's power is nothing compared to the Dragon Spirit. Wondering if the Dragon Spirit has truly awakened, Ron laughs as he begins to organise his next devious plot to gain power. Having been invested in this year's tournament due to NEST's hand in destroying their home of Southtown the previous year, the Fatal Fury team gather at the wreckage of the space station before returning home. While Joe and Andy return to their normal lives and loved ones, Blue Mary wraps up her investigation into NESTS, though she's still left to clean up the mess the cartel left. Mary is thankful for NESTS, however, as their plans inadvertently result in her getting a new partner in Terry, who waits for her before the two set off to continue their work together. With NESTS finally taken down and his creator dead, K-Dash asks the others what they plan to do now. Lynn struggles to accept that Ron is dead, but K-Dash believes him to still be alive. Lynn shows indifference over K-Dash's belief and leaves. Maxima plans to visit his friend's grave and tell him of their victory, with his friend's death being the reason Maxima fought back against NESTS. Maxima notes that K-Dash is acting strange, but before he can answer why, K-Dash is approached by Whip, who reminds him that it's time to return the favour he owes Cooler. K-Dash agrees and takes Cooler by the hand, claiming that their real battle is about to begin, as the remaining NESTS creations leave the wreckage and their pasts behind. Sometime after the tournament, Haiden delivers a case report on the investigation into NESTS. Thanks to Ron's apparent intervention, NEST's space station managed to remain intact, which allowed the Ikari warriors to gain the evidence they needed to prove NEST's crimes. With the NEST space station's destruction, the people and countries in its thrall are able to move on, while the organisation itself crumbles with its base of operations and leaders gone. With its threat to world peace quashed, the NEST's case is officially closed. With there never being a moment's rest, the Ikari warriors are sent out on another mission by Haiden. As Ralph and Clark comment on Haiden's nature as a slave driver, Leona arrives with a letter from Haiden. Assuming it to be more orders, Ralph comments on Haiden's secrecy as Leona tells him that he secretly loves it. Clark comments that it was all worth it as the letter is revealed to be a photograph of Whip and Cooler enjoying ice cream together. Ralph tells Whip to keep up the fight as the Ikari warriors return to their mission. As the KOF 2001 tournament ends and the NEST's criminal cartel fades away, peace returns to the world, but unbeknownst to everyone, a new threat from the past begins to rear its head.
We await your return, warrior.